Frazetta Art Museum. Yeah, I'd go check it out. I definitely would. You should, man. I bet seeing them in person is a real treat. Like to see kind of vibrancy and stuff like that. But welcome, welcome, welcome. It's the Saturday. Yeah, this is the Saturday one, right? I don't know what days are anymore. So let me put this right here. I'm gonna move my mic over here. Oh God. I don't break everything that I own. There we go. Let's move that over there. Keep the music a little bit. As always, let me know if sounds are good or songs are too loud or I'm too loud or any of that stuff. Be happy to fix it. So yeah, tonight we are finishing I'm gonna say finishing. I want to be done with it. Not because it's bad or anything. It's just because I want to move on to other stuff. The dinosaur painting. Our dino buddies. Working on some composition. Working on just the stylizations and all that stuff. Trying to make it pretty decent card art. And, just having fun with it. So, let's kick on over to... There it is. Okay. So this is where we left off last time. Well, technically, we left off here last time. I put color splashes and stuff like that on it, and that's still activated up here. But we're gonna really kind of push things. So before we left last time, Veer, what's up? Welcome. Before we left last time, I ran that, the filter, the cutout filter, and made this, right here. And before I, logged off for the night, so this was after I did the stream, after I, signed out of the stream, but before I went to bed, I just looked at this picture for about 3 or 4 minutes. And I was like, okay, what's 3 or 4 things that I should probably, look at next time whenever we're live? So I took these notes. So, and of course, we're not going to see the painting as a weird, graphical, cropped, or cutout sort of, thing. But I think this was good about showing me a few things I need to fix. So, these shadows, are too dark for how I want this mountain to be, or rock structure to be. These are just too dark. And because the algorithm, I guess, sees those as darker, that's why I kind of like this filter a lot, because it really simplifies stuff down to what the machine is seeing. And, machines can be wrong, but also it is nice. It's almost like having another set of eyeballs. It's like whenever you hit the color correction buttons, like auto color, auto contrast, auto levels, auto brightness, things like that, and you see what the program thinks you need to do. It's not right all the time, but it is interesting to be able to click it and be like, okay, maybe I do need to make my contrast higher or whatever. But for this, the main thing is this area right here, I need to actually separate more with the clouds like I have here. So we're going to add some there. And also this will give us a better shape for the tree. Here, these shadows are too dark on the rock. I need to push those back a little bit more. And then here, I took a note of this, but this little gap right here between where the foreground dino's hands or talons, what are they called? I don't know. His little grabbers, need to put a much lighter value here to keep this silhouette as the really strong thing. Now, I'm not too worried about these shapes of the foreground foliage, being the same level or being the same darkness, I guess, or the key as the shadows here, because this is all in the foreground. Okay. Same thing, these are the darker parts, and that's good, right? So that gives some decent balance. We have some real darks up here, and then some real darks down here. So everything's kind of here in the middle. At least your eye should be grafting towards that way. But yeah, so basically I'm gonna straighten up some of this. I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to make this shape a little better with some white clouds in the background. I'm going to add some kind of atmospheric perspective, a little bit of fog and all that fun stuff back here to kind of lower this value a little bit, or lower the contrast, I should say. Make the darks brighter. And then here we're gonna fix this silhouette a little bit more. Now I will say, this is actually kind of okay right down here, but I still kind of want to make it lighter even so, because you can see how a little bit of smoke got right here. I should really push that idea. I did that on that Frank Frazetta rabbit piece that I actually finished this morning, which I was happy about. So I posted that up, but I added a lot of fog, like a lot of atmosphere to it. So that's what we're going to be doing. Also, I'm going to be changing some of the, or not changing, but really kind of getting in and rendering some of these directions on the pattern on the dinosaur to differentiate it from the curves here. It's going to be a lot of sharper straight lines, kind of like how we have here on the tail. So overall, I mean, this is in a good spot, but we're going to keep pushing. We're going to push and pull and, you know, all that fun stuff. And I'm actually going to do that probably in color, you know? Yeah, we can... do that, and then bring that up. Okay, yeah, so that's where we were. And then I had brought that down. Oh, and I did all these adjustments. I see what I was doing. Okay. I literally haven't opened this since we did the stream last time. So I'm kind of like learning what I was doing. Okay. I got you. Let's keep that gradient map on, because it does a nice thing. It kind of pushes all the values together, which is sort of nice, because then it gives me even more room to push and pull and do that stuff. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah, so let's just hop to it. And of course, any questions at any point, please let me know. I will be more than happy to answer. New YouTube video coming out on tomorrow. I was going to say Monday, but that's not true. It's coming out tomorrow on Sunday. And I think it's going to get... it's going to be hopefully kind of popular. It's a little clickbaity, but that's fine. That never hurt no one. So what I'm doing now, I'm on my color overlay layer. So since I have my values kind of where I want them, I am going to adjust them still. But since I have them where I want them, I'm just going to put in color. Then we're going to maybe take this in Paint Storm, do some painterly strokes, bring it back in. Kind of, this is what I normally do, is kind of ping pong stuff back and forth. So that's what we'll do. We'll just kind of get some basic colors blocked in. And then use that as kind of our main source of painting. Because I did learn quite a bit on that Frank Frazetta rabbit tribute thing that I can actually integrate onto this. And a lot of times you'll find that's true, that something you're working on might teach you how to solve a problem from another thing you're working on. That actually happens quite a bit. Yeah, that's fine. I thought that was a wrong green, but we can make that work. We can work with it. We'll just kind of flatten it in real quick. Get that there. Back over here. Can we get that blue in? Let me get these in here. And I was thinking I can actually repeat the motif of having these dinosaurs being like part of the same group or pack by making them the same colors, you know? Because that way you can kind of tell they're supposed to be together, like they're part of the same crew. So yeah, even though these colors aren't necessarily right, they're going to be helpful whenever we take this into another program. And I mean, worst comes to worst, if this doesn't turn out to be like quote-unquote portfolio worthy, I can always just put it up as the sketchbook stuff on my website. So we have stuff like that. I think the leg is actually there. Is that right? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, that okay, that is where it is. Other than that, some of this, and some of the earthy tone stuff. Even the fog can be a little earthy tone. Like I said, we're really going to get in and start playing around with how these colors kind of blend into each other and stuff here in a little bit. Okay, rock. Rock. And rock. So this is a very fast and loose way to add in color. It looks pretty like artificial, which is why I usually don't like how it looks. You know what I mean? Normally not real keen on that. I'm actually gonna gray that a little bit. Not much, just a little. Because maybe the color of the clouds is a little too yellow for how blue the sky is. I'm not sure. But once again, that's me kind of getting in my own head about it, you know? Or hey, what's up, my friend? Yeah, you know, another day, another stream. That's what it's about. Let's make that a little more purple. Differentiate a little bit. Yeah, these colors are kind of all over the place right now, but we'll get there. We will get there. We can add a little bit of purple fun here too. Add this stuff together. So we have that. I actually like that kind of blown out red look right there, but slightly desaturated. I need to fix the silhouette, of course, because right now he ain't got no arms. Over here. Okay. So what do we want to do? So I'm trying to remember what the rule is on... I'll probably just grab my color and light book right now, but there is a rule that sometimes gets, sometimes doesn't work, but a lot of times it does. Actually, I'm gonna sneeze real quick. Hold on. I have like some like nostril hair. Oh, I hate it. I hate whenever you have to sneeze and it won't happen. Oh, okay. Anyway, so the rule is, if I remember this right from the James Gurney book, if you have warm light, your cast shadow is probably going to be cool shadows. However, bounce light, anything that is getting relit by the bounce, is also going to be warm, not cool, even if it's in the shadows. I think that's what the rule is. So we can try that real quick. Who directly color over the grayscale? Yes. So yes, doing this method, I think, makes for flat colors. And there's actually a physics reason why. So I think it's physics. But essentially, the colors are not matching the brushstrokes. So your mind has a disconnect. Because like if I were to, paint a straight line this way and then color up and down that way, your brain wouldn't put those two things together. So a lot of times what ends up happening is people will work a lot on brushwork in black and white, and then they'll just come and splash color on top of it, which is fine, and it works well and stuff like that, but it looks unnatural. And even gradient maps, as good as they are, can get fairly unnatural, like digital looks to them. So if I was doing a game, and I knew the game was just like digital cards, there was no physical printing, there was no anything like that, I might actually keep the colors like this because I know it grabs more attention, even if it's technically not the way that I normally paint. Because attention can be a good thing or a bad thing, right? I mean, there's that whole like controversy creates cash type thing, but like, I want my paint strokes to match the color. Like I want those to be in harmony because that makes it more cohesive. It's less things that somebody can point out as wrong, even though art's subjective and whatever. It does make it look a little weird. But what I like to do is we're going to do this, we're going to put the colors in, we're going to do this, kind of add the temperatures and stuff, then make a merged copy of this, and then paint on top of it. Like, almost use this as our color guide, and then make a brand new normal layer, and just paint stroke and, mixer brush and all that stuff. Because then the brush strokes have the color, the melting of the colors and the kind of mingling and stuff like that will still happen. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You can see if the image works like this and be like, okay, we're like 70 or 80% done. Now all we have to do is paint it, which sounds weird, but like that's kind of how it works. Closer to the line where the two edges touch to be cool, moves warm. Yeah. Also, something that I do need to remember is you get the most saturation of color right before a highlight. Like right before a highlight. That's why color dodge works so good, because it makes that happen. Like the math behind it puts the highest saturation like one step before the lightest value. It's where all of your color kind of lives. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it. A lot of that punchy saturation happens right there. So like any like really bright highlight, I would come in and do like candy apple red next to it, but yeah, so here, I mean, this is fine, but like, okay, so if this is cool, then the cast shadows here, yes, should be warm. Actually, and this is weird because you would think, oh, it's already red, so it's already warm, but it has to be a different hue. That's another thing that a lot of times doesn't quite. Or actually, so it'll be warm, so these will be cool. Okay, yes. Oh, and then the bounce will be warm. Okay, so the bounce, that's where we'll use this orange. Kind of come up a little bit. So see, that's what I mean. It gets a little tricky. Because it's going to be warm light. Even though the sky is blue, it is warm light hitting. So that means here, let's cut over there and do, let's do something like that. But see, it looks a little weird right now until everything follows that rule. Once everything follows the rule, it'll look right. But until then, it will not look right. Which is also a thing. Sometimes you have to go for it. You just have to do all of it. And then you'll see how it all kind of works together. A lot of people give up too early on it. And they're like, no, this isn't working. But if you did the whole painting, it would work. I see that a lot whenever students are learning how to do portraits. And they don't go dark enough. Because they think if they go dark there, they have to go dark everywhere, and it's not true. Here, so that's going to catch. That's going to be there. Okay. Got some work. You got it. We will be here. Let me put that there. Yeah, just to give a little bit of variety. That's cool. It's almost like a little pattern on his nose. In. Yeah, and I guess at a certain point it just kind of like grays it out, you know? Oh, so yeah, that's what we can do. We can just do the cool shadows like that, but then come back in with the orange here momentarily. And this will at least give us yeah, there you go. That's a nice little hit. On staying zoomed out when working on a painting, I have a problem with doing tight details very early. That's a good question. I think the thing that kind of changed my mentality on it, because I used to be the same way. I used to want to get in there and be like, oh, if it's really detailed, people will want to look at it, which is not actually true necessarily. It can be, but not all the time. What people really want to look at is the entire image. We talked about it a little bit last stream, but you kind of want to reward the viewer for like looking closer. But if you go straight for details, the rest of the image won't hold those details up, if that makes sense. Like, you'll notice that I don't care so much about like this mountain. And like I could maybe make these a little tighter, the leaves, but you kind of get it because they're green and they're next to other leaves. But what I do care about is like these individual teeth. And so you can really kind of zoom in and kind of get in there on the stuff that actually matters. But I would say make sure the rest of the image works first. Because there's a lot of little subtle things that are kind of, well, some are subtle and some are not so subtle, that are literally just pointing to our dinosaur's mouth. So if you use your composition well, it's gonna tell the viewer not only where to look, but it'll tell you where to paint your details. So if you notice, these leaves right here are all pointing at the dino's face. This dino is looking at the dino's face. Just the posture, the tail of the dino is pointing at his own face. The posture of the dino is a curve that kind of warps around to give you this like circular, nice thing. We also have these leaves that are kind of coming up and towards, but then it curves around. But you can see how it's almost a tangent right here, how the tail and the body are coming in. And then the leaves right here, it's almost the same curve on that spine, or like where the tail is and where this leaf is. But I'm actually going to keep it. Normally I'd be like, oh, I need to come in and fix that. But I think what this does is this really kind of pushes that momentum. It's like having a speed boost in like Mario Kart or something. Like you're really telling the viewer to look over here, like push this way. And then the only things pointing the other way are the dino's tongue. And I mean the dino's face, but since that's the main focal point, because you can only have one actual focal point in your painting. A lot of people like to have a lot of them. Or like, well, what if I did a lot of detail over here and also over here? Isn't that good and balanced? But your eyes can't focus on more than one thing at a time. So this whole painting, as ironic and weird as it sounds, is in service of this dinosaur's face. That's it. The main idea is this dino face. Everything else has to lift up and somehow make us want to dig in to where the details are. So I would say worry about the picture first. Because with pictures you can break rules, that's where a lot of the creative thinking comes in, is like, where are my shapes on the canvas? And if you're thinking really big, you're going to have a tendency to stay zoomed out more. You'll notice that a lot of times, yeah, we're working like this. If I was at 100% zoom, we'd be like up in here. But then even with a navigator right here, being able to see the zoomed out thing all the time and the readability, I would still get too like caught up in the weeds here. And ironically, this is a thing that Ryan Pancoast, Magic the Gathering artist, says in quite a few of his tutorials. But he is so adamant about his silhouettes of shapes reading so well, he'll literally fully paint out a silhouette without even having an idea of what's going to go inside of it. He's like, well, no, this kind of looks like this kind of shape, so let's paint a person in there. Like, it's almost like, do you remember the whole, like, who's that Pokemon? And, like, it comes up with their silhouette, and it's like, who is that Pokemon? You can kind of do whatever you want in that silhouette, because the silhouette works. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what the design is, really, because you can tell immediately. Another thing, if you're big into video games, like Team Fortress 2, Valve are geniuses. You can tell exactly who a character is just by their silhouette. Pixar does it. I know like League of Legends does it, but those are a little different because you're zoomed pretty out, you know what I mean? But they have like big samurai swords, or they have something that breaks up the silhouette. So if you have the silhouette working, everything else is gravy. Which means you don't have to spend as much time on details. Not unless you're at the focal point. Then I would kind of push and render and stuff. And the nice thing is, you'll notice if you just focus your detail on the focal point, you get your paintings done a lot faster because you're not so caught up in every little thing the belt buckle has to be exactly right, and forget all that. Um, in my opinion, I mean, some people make a career out of super highly detailed stuff, and good on them. But at a certain point, is the juice worth the squeeze? Are you getting something great out of trying to render that belt buckle? Is that going to be the thing that gets you the job? Wow, look at that belt buckle. Probably not. Um, it's going to be the bigger thing. Yes, Feng Zhu. I have Feng Zhu brushes here. Like, I made brushes based on him. That guy is a monster. Feng Zhu is unbelievable. A super smart guy. He is so focused on I was going to say detail, but detail's not true. He's so focused on mechanics. He is like, can that thing work? Can that thing work? Doesn't matter what it is. Can it work? Can I see how it functions? And those are where you want your details. You know what I mean? So if you're into that type of like concept design, um, you know, it's not necessary for a storyboarder to be able to do that. But if you're into concept design, yeah. How do those rotors spin? Like, how does this thing actually take off and fly? You know, you need to think of things like that. And that's where your details will be. It's like call outs. Like, okay, here's how the engine hooks together. That is stuff that will get you career jobs. Like, you'll get hired on at a studio. That's where your belt buckle is going to look perfect, because you're going to know exactly how the belt fits in and where it clamps down and where the pressure is and how it holds the pants up. And but now you're on the other end of the spectrum. Now you're not worried necessarily about the image. You're worried about, can this function as a design that a 3D artist can incorporate, or that an animator can look at and understand how the jacket is weaved together. Like, now you're so far in the details you need a microscope. But there's room for everybody, which is great. So my I guess to bring it all to a head is like, figure out what part you find interesting, because if you really do like the details and you like to get in and you find yourself doing it a lot and you don't really know why, but that's kind of where your likes are and your passion is, think about doing some design work. Think about going in and, okay, can I make a sci-fi weapon? How would I load in the cartridge? How would the rounds come out of the holder? How would, if I were to load the gun, how would you need to hand do it? Like is it like a World War II style weapon? Like, get into those details, because you can have a hell of a living doing that. Yeah, functionality versus aesthetics. So 100%, no question in my mind, I am focused on aesthetics. There's no doubt. My stuff would never work. That tree, that palm tree right there, would probably fall over because the base is not bigger than the top. Do you know what I mean? But like, it's a line, it's there. No one's going to care about the tree. It's fine. As long as I put some tree bark on it, it's okay. Like, for me, it's whatever. Now, if the client needs it to be very specific, of course I'll do it. But like, I'm not super worried about like, what was the wind density to cause that rock to be that shape? Like, I don't care. Is it a cool shape? Does it feed into the reality that I want to make in this one image, this little portal in time? Then great, let's do it, you know? Spec, what's up, man? Glad to have you here. Yeah, we're talking about some design versus aesthetics, and like detail versus, impressionism, I guess, or romanticism, like the idea of something versus the actual thing. And I don't know, there's this thing I was thinking about, whenever you're little and you really want to buy something, whether it's like a certain comic book or like a video game or, a new music CD. And before you have it, like before you have the thing, it could be anything. It could be the greatest album that ever existed. It could be Can you imagine? This video game's 9,000 hours long and it's perfect in every way. And then you get it and it's something different. It's still probably awesome and you're excited to have it and stuff like that. But the reality of the thing doesn't quite match what you had built up. And I guess my goal, I hope to make images to where you're constantly in that first state. You're in that state of like, whoa, I want to see 5,000 more dinosaur paintings like that. Like, you know, and not to say we're there yet, but that's my goal as an illustrator or as a painter or whatever, is to make you for that half second or 10 minutes or however long you want to look at it, be like, now that's, yes, that's money. That is, I want to be there. I want 10 games built on that. I want mood and aesthetic to like emanate from it. You know what I mean? Canton, what's up, man? To be in the both, I'm all for aesthetics, but then I double. This isn't yeah. So there's a happy balance, I think, and I definitely haven't found it yet, between functional and practical and, you know, aesthetic. I think there's this great idea, and it's always stuck with me, and it sounds how it sounds, but I can't remember if I said it and I was in like a really sleepy stupor in art school, because my major was in graphic design, with a minor in illustration, you know? And we were having a debate about the difference between design and illustration, because you have to use principles from both in both. You have to design an illustration, and in order for a design to work, you have to illustrate it well. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do both. But for some reason, I remember saying, the illustration is what hangs in the museum, and the design is the museum. Design, first and foremost, has to serve function. It's like a car. I don't care how pretty the car is. If it can't turn on and it doesn't have wheels and it can't move, it's not a very good car. It has to be designed. It has to have the stuff, right? But you can make it aesthetically pleasing. You can make it nice and rounded shapes and curves and like Shelby Cobra looking stuff, like gorgeous cars, right? Just works of art, really. But they have to serve a function. And that's where sometimes my brain gets so caught up, kind of like yourself, Dark Matter. I'm like, okay, the function, let's say, of this dinosaur painting, since I'm making it in a card art style, the overall function of it is, can this card work well, two things. Can the card work like this at this size? Can it work that way? If I pulled this out of a deck and put it on a table and it was that big, could I still tell what card it was just based on how the art reads at this size? Okay. I actually had this exact same conversation with Anthony from Varia. Well, he's my art director for Varia. But then also, can this piece work like this? Because if my opponent plays this card, this is how I'm going to see the art. Can I immediately know what this is? Oh, he played the double DINO, whatever. Like, whatever the card's name is. Is this distinct enough? Does this work well enough that you can tell what it is upside down? Huh. And then the double whammy. Upside down at that size. It still needs to read well. So that's the function. This is a game, after all. We need the mentality of a player. They'll look at the art for a minute, but really their mind is making decisions in the card game. That's where they're present at. This needs to serve that. This needs, through and through, I don't care how pretty the painting is, if you don't, like, literally, if you can't tell what it is, like this, I can literally make you, if you couldn't tell what this is, like this, a more effective piece of card art would be this. Boom. That's a more effective piece of card art. Because you can look at that at any angle and you know exactly what it is. It's a white circle on a gray background. Do you know what I mean? Like, this, you can memorize this. What does that mean? Oh, well, that means I get +2 on hit and blah, 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 blah. You can make that connection. So my job as a card artist is to make my big, elaborate, cool-looking painting have that same mental impact as something super quick. So yeah, so a lot of times, yes. And you'll notice that if you see traditional, like, Magic the Gathering art being made, like if Brian Pancoast or Aaron Miller or somebody or Howard Lyon are making, like, oil paintings, you'll see that they extend out the art. Like, they make the full painting, but then the middle part, that's the actual card art ratio, is set up to be the card art. So whenever Magic gets those digital images, they can crop it in and make it work. Like, that's what's really cool about it. There's so much design nuance, but it's almost not about what you're actually painting. In a weird way, it almost doesn't matter what you're actually painting, which sounds very bizarre. But it doesn't matter that these two are dinos and this, you know, it's cool and it's fun and you get to do research and make it look right. And ooh, isn't that neat? Look at these leaves. And you can get caught up in that minutia and that's fun. But it's like, I don't know, at a certain level, you're making the function more than poker and pin. So yeah, a lot of times you'll see card layouts like that. And even if you go and play, like on Steam, there's that tabletop simulator, I think, and you can actually go and play Varia, the card game I work on. You can go play it and play with my cards, and I do that sometimes. I'll go in and load up the images and put them across the table, like the digital table, and be like, okay, I need to make that shape bigger. I need to make that color better. I need to, so that's sort of what, what it's going for. So this one, I'm not really emulating a specific style or a specific artist. What I do have is a collection of magic art, and of course there's Tyler Jacobson stuff just because his paint strokes are ridiculous. But see, like the very vibrant colors, these are all magic artists, but, well, these are references, but the magic art right here, kind of like looking here, see kind of what they do with their colors and things like that. But yeah, you'll see big shapes, big highlights and stuff like that. It's just a fun exercise to do, but also just try to figure out, like, I mean, Randy Vargas he's a beast. But just noticing things, which I can always do. I can seriously just stare at a single piece of card art for an hour and just sort of like sponge in knowledge. Be like, oh, interesting. I'm at the point now to where I can almost, not perfectly, but like I can kind of reverse engineer an image and be like, oh, I know why they did that. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, once you do it enough times, you can kind of see what the patterns are. Yeah, and there's a, I mean, yeah. Once again, Tyler Jacobson being a hero. Unbelievable, man. But yeah, it's super, super cool and super fun to be able to look at and just dissect it for what it is, you know? But yeah, something like that. So really, if I wanted to get all magic art with it, I could do something like this. I can go like that. I can go boom. I can go... which one do I want? I want... Is that the one? No, I want 2023. Yes. What I could do... Let's go like this. Go like color dodge. No, this is not for Magic. So this is just, I haven't been hired on at Magic. I'd love to. It's a bucket list job. But this is in the style of, like, it's always good, like, since I do have that as one of my art goals, it's good to make that leap and like make things in the style of, because art directors are just checking to make sure that you can do the job. You know what I mean? That's the best way to get a job, is to prove you can do it. So let's do this. Let's do real bright orange. And either we can go boom, like this, and have that blowout, and then we can do some really harsh lighting here. Or if we wanted to go real Magic the Gathering, hit it like right there. You know what I mean? Get that nice color dodge and just have it be buck wild through here. Veer, welcome back. So here, good old color dodge. So yeah, you know, and it messes up all the values and stuff, so you'd go back and fix it. But it's that type of thing, right? And you can even come back, and since it's on its own layer, you can lower it. And but if you ever wondered how they got looks like, you know, like this nice bright colors and stuff, that's how they would do it. You get that color, yeah, and like this. Nice effects here, and kind of come in and sprinkle in some color dodge around. Same thing here, you know. So, you know, you can do some fun stuff. But really it's just about bringing it to that final, you know. So I will be right back. I'm going to go get a little more drink. I ran out. So we'll look at this real quick. Boom. And I will be right back. All right, sorry about that, guys. We're back. Let me bring that down. Bring that down. Boom. Good. Cool. All right. Yeah, color dodge is super, super handy. And this is actually not the best use of it because it's a little too light, I think. What really makes it pop is, see, I can hide it real quick. If I come here, I will go ahead and make a brightness contrast layer. Bring that brightness down. Contrast up. And you can see how that hit happens. And then what you can do is go in that brightness contrast layer and then mask out what you don't need. So I'll get my soft round brush. And we'll kind of we want it to be like light right here, you know, it really like, you know, it really hits whenever and honestly we can keep that if we want to. But yeah, super fun, super easy trick. And do we want to lighten this back up, or is that going to also get rid of the effect? Not too bad, actually. Something like that. So, I like the lighter sky. Yeah. And plus it would make sense on the value scale side of things to have the lighter sky. And we can push that back even more. Because like we talked about, we need to push that back a little. And maybe have the sun almost like intense but behind the clouds. That's cool. All right. So we have that. Let me check our values. So yeah, I'll still need to fix down here. I'll still need to lighten right here. Let's go ahead and do that. And then we can put the colors back over and then take it into maybe Paint Storm. We'll do Paint Storm for a little bit and then we can maybe do some Clip Studio and then we should be good. There it is. I'm trying out these new brushes. I'm just gonna kind of lighten everything back here. And it helps sell that silhouette a little bit more on that tree. There we go. Into a storm, yeah, because it has that nice kind of undercurrent on the clouds. Yeah, that, let me straighten that out a little bit. There we go. We can sort of fix this shape here, make it a little more graphic. And whenever you ever hear an artist say like a graphic read, literally all we mean is shapes, like geometric shapes, like circles, squares, kind of that example we did from earlier where you have the circle on top of the square. Yes, there is. It's called like dot gain plus 20% or something. I think it is proof setup. Yep. Working CMYK. I can do custom. My custom's dot gain 20%. But the nice thing about this method is I can use this technique, the black, white, gray, or whatever, and then put it over color mode. This works on every single painting program on the planet. And it keeps your values correct. So instead of using like the desaturate and turn down the saturation, that's going to mess with your values. It's going to make your lights too crushy, and it's going to mess with some stuff. But doing this, you're literally looking at the optical like lightness of it, which is where your values actually live. Sure. So digital brushes are made up of a whole bunch of functions. So let me like open up some of mine because I know what mine are made of. So let's say you like the look of the West Painter 1 brush, okay? And this is my 2024 brush pack. I do a brush pack once a year now. I used to do a lot of them a year, and then there were too many. They're not very expensive. They're like $4 a pop, but I didn't want to just pump out brush pack after brush pack. I wanted to spend a lot of time with like 20 brushes and get them really where I wanted them. And over the course of a year, then I'll use kind of my most used brushes that I have modified or created from scratch and then release them out. So let's say we have something like this. If we look over kind of the brush dynamics and stuff. Oh, thanks, Greg. Yeah. And then, so there's a lot of things. So there's like shape dynamics, and you'll see every single one of these deals has a whole bunch of features underneath it. So for instance, shape dynamics, how does okay, so every brush is made from one image file. It's a little JPEG. It's a PNG file, I should say. And that's the brush tip. So think of the brush tip like a picture of if you had the paintbrush and just had like black on it and went like boop, just down once, straight down and straight up. What would the brush tip look like? Like what would that mark look like? And then you basically either repeat that 100 million times right close together, so it's a smooth brush, because basically every digital brush is a stamp. You're stamping almost like a tattoo gun, like bam, 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 bam. So you're stamping this pattern, this image pattern. So the image can have transparency in it, like if it is a PNG file. It can have parts to where things underneath it show through. You know what I mean? It can have, basically it works like a mask. Everything that is white is shown and everything that is black is hidden. So you can have all these nice variations of transparency on the brush tip because you're working with an alpha channel. Alpha just means opacity. Basically, is it viewable or not? At 100% alpha or at 1, it means it's viewable completely. And at 0 or 0% or off, it means it's not viewable. So as it stamps, it repeats. Now, whenever you start getting into shape dynamics, that first thing, shape dynamics is what happens when you change the direction of the mark you're making. What happens to that pattern? Does a pattern rotate? Does it elongate? Does it go with the direction that your pen is moving or the direction that it started from, which is different? every paint program has their own version of this. So whenever you hear people talk about like brush engines, like, oh, this brush engine works great for wet brushes, this brush engine crashes all the time, that's what we're referring to, is like, how is the mathematics happening? And like, what is it better at? Because I would say Clip Studio Paint is way better at like wet blending brushes than Photoshop is. But Photoshop has the best dry texture brushes I've ever seen in my life. Rebelle has the best impasto brushes I've ever seen, where they literally have three-dimensionality to them because of the raised edges. That all comes down to the brush tip. And also things like shape dynamics. You have scattering. So you know how we said like each one's a dot, 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 dot? Scattering is how far away from the line are these things going. So if I turn on scattering and we looked at it and then the count was like at 4 and the count jitters of like 17%, if I made a new layer and did stuff like this, and then let me come up here, and then I can scatter on both axes, or I do something like this, you can see the stamp of that brush is wobbly. It's like, instead of doing a straight line, it's going like boom, 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 boom. Then texture. I have a lot of texture on mine. So basically this is a picture of concrete. A lot of mine are actually concrete. You would think it's canvas, but it's not. It's concrete. Concrete gives a better image, in my opinion. It's more dynamic. So you get this image of concrete, and that's what this little stippling and stippling and all that stuff is. That's that transparency, that alpha channel is part of every brush stroke you make. Then you have something called a dual brush. So Photoshop was the first program to ever do a dual brush engine. And what that means is basically this is two brushes in one. Not only do you have one brush that has your scattering and shape dynamics and jitter and opacity and all that stuff, you can layer on another whole different brush and do all those settings, and they'll mingle together. It's like merging two layers. But you would merge the brushes, they would each keep their own dynamics. Like this one would have jitter and sizing and all that stuff, while this one would have the texture, let's say. But then you combine them and you get the best of all of it. You get the jitter with the texture with the, you know what I mean? Like, so that's the dual brush engine. There's not a lot of, I think Procreate has it now, but Photoshop created it, and Photoshop also still retains the rights to it, so I think you have to like license it out through Adobe. I could be wrong about that, but the tech was invented by Adobe. Color dynamics. How much color shift is it? So if I have red, so let me, if I do like color dynamics, foreground, background jitter. So this will actually, let me do something extreme here. Let me actually do it like this. That'll be easier on the eyes. If I bring this up to like 40%, and I also change the hue jitter, so around the color wheel, how much is it changing? The saturation, let me crank that up. And then the brightness jitter, let's keep it there. But then, look at that. This is the same brush. Same exact brush. But I click two buttons, and this is the difference it makes. What's up, Brent? But so a digital brush is constructed of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these different variables, and they give you different looks. So whenever I sell a brush pack, and the brush packs, I'll put my website link here. So there's the site link. You'll see a brushes and tutorials tab on there, and then whichever ones. It gives full like readouts, and you see samples and all that stuff. So They work in anything that does ABR brushes. So Photoshop for sure, Adobe Brush, that's what .abr stands for. But also they'll go into Procreate, they go into Clip Studio. I made a few brush packs that have like PaintStorm Studio and Art Rage brushes. Those are some of the older ones. I think like 2020 might be the one that does that. But yeah, once a year, I think I skipped a year. But I made the Platinum pack that year, so it's just not numbered, I guess. But yeah, they're all there, and each brush pack is curated. So either I made each brush from scratch, or I took like a modified, like a Kyle Webster brush. Like, so Kyle Webster used to work for Adobe for like 10 years, and he was the brush guy. So he would make huge packs. Like whenever you get Photoshop, all the default brushes were made by Kyle. So Kyle has his stuff, and the cool thing, and Kyle's a real chill guy, super awesome, super smart too. He lets you kind of break them and bend them and kind of do whatever you want with them. And so that's what I would do. I would get chalk brushes, or I would get the dry media or the thick brush, and I'd change images and I'd push and pull and change these settings. So every single brush pack you see, I've curated specifically to get a certain look. So there's like John Singer Sargent brushes. There's like Feng Zhu, we mentioned him earlier, have some of his concept brush looks. Like, so I don't have Rebelle brushes yet, but I'm working on them. I'm actually like working with Escape Motions right now. But I don't really do the Corel brush engine because I don't know, me and it still don't get along. It's great. It's just Corel's one of those that, like, I don't know, I feel like, what's a good way to say it? The power of the Corel painting program is tweaking stuff as it is anyway. So making a brush pack for it, I don't think would do it much favors. Like, I think of Corel painter brushes the same way I think of my, like, acrylic saffron, you know, brushes. Like my actual traditional brushes I have over here. Like my oil painting versus watercolor filbert brushes. Like, that's how I think of them. Like, you just do that and you just kind of hold it a different way and then it makes a different mark. More so than like, I'm gonna get this type of stamp in Corel Painter. Like, it doesn't work quite right in my mind. I can't make it work. That could be the engine, it could be a number of things, but the brush engine's great. It just doesn't really, I don't know. It's not built for that kind of customization. I don't feel like. Yeah, Photoshop's brush making is incredible. Another great brush creator, like maybe even better than Photoshop's, is Clip Studio. Clip Studio crushes it. Just unbelievable. But the nice thing is, I don't have to make a specific Clip Studio brush set. My ABR brushes just work in it. Like, you can import them, and they work great. There's a few of them that are kind of off, because sometimes I'll make like a Photoshop mixer brush, and there's no such thing in Clip Studio as a dry mixer brush. So things like that work a little different, but for your hard rounds and soft rounds and chalk and, you know, paint texture transfer and stuff, all that stuff is aces. When people name them as wet paint, oil paint, yeah. So I'll try to explain my mentality on how I think of the brushes and how I label them, because I label mine based on feel, which sounds ridiculous, but bear with me. So like West Canvas 1, okay? Let's do this. Let's duplicate this layer. And then I am actually going to come up here, change this to normal, so I can paint on top of this. So, and this is from my, which one is this? 2023 brush packs, I think. So, West Canvas 1. Okay. I named it this because this feels like getting fairly dry paint on a canvas. But West Canvas 2 is the same type of thing, but it's thicker. So like, this is like if I had a fully loaded oil painting brush. And then if I wanted to use West Canvas 1 and go around the outskirts of it to make it look a little more kind of worn in. You see that? So they look connected. So that's why I named it Canvas 1 and Canvas 2. They can be used together, but they each have separate functionalities. And then a West Canvas 3 is yet a different one to where it's more like the straight, you know what I mean? And then if there's like West Impasto Thick, there's no actual impasto on here, but it does have color jitter. And color jitter has a nice tendency to make it look like there's ridges on the art and on the paint. You know what I mean? Because that's basically just the same picture, and then the hue is slightly changing and the saturation slightly changing, but nothing else. So there's no actual raised three-dimensionality to it. But if you zoom out and you zoom out a little bit, it kind of looks like it. Kind of looks like there's impasto on that brush. Like I have a dagger brush because I love dagger brushes. Whenever I work traditionally, but this one's crazy because it is random. The way the brush stroke goes, it will follow you, but it will give you a different result each time. So a lot of people don't like these type of brushes, but if I know I want some sort of detail or noise, I'll make these and use them whenever I'm drawing a blank. I'm like, man, I have this white right here and I know I need something a little like pink, but I don't know what. So let me just come in and add a little something. And then I kind of see what I got, you know? So, and then like Sargent Oil. I love John Singer Sargent. So whenever I made this brush and found the brush tip and all that stuff, this felt like, and see how the transfer isn't full if I don't push all the way down? This gave me some really nice, like John Singer Sargent-esque, you know, paint areas. And then the same thing with the number 2. It's the same type of thing, but once again, it's a little more opaque. So where you can really start getting kind of crazy is you start like, okay, I'm going to get the Zorn blocker and block in my stuff like Zorn. I'm going to use the oil 2 a little bit. Let me get a little warm. Do something like that around the edge. Let me get the Sargent Oil 1. Let me up the saturation a little. And then let me grab that Canvas 1. And grab this. And then bring that white in. Bring that orange down. You can start getting some really cool, like, traditional style effects. You know what I mean? And I wanted my brushes to be quick. Like, that was the real overall goal. So yeah, hopefully that explained a little bit. Like, I do them by feel, and then by what purpose I want them to serve. And it's just easier for me to remember, because I'm like, oh, my Sargent brushes, yeah. So I'm going to call this West Sargent. Like, I'm not the most creative guy in the world. So hopefully that was helpful. Got me a little bit of Gatorade there, but okay. So I have about 30 minutes left on stream for tonight. So what can we do? We may not finish our dino buddies. Yeah, you bet. Absolutely, yeah. And brushes are they're a bear, man. Like they're such a big. It's another form of expression. You know what I mean? So really, any brush packs that you find interesting, I say go for it. I've bought tons and tons and tons of brushes. Like, you see my list of brush packs here, man. These aren't all of them. These are just the ones that I pretty much like going to a lot. I mean, of course, the Greg Rutkowski. If you're big into traditional painting, the Greg Rutkowski brushes are the best in the world. I sell traditional brushes, and his are better. Like, they just are. They're better brushes than mine are. You bet, man. Yeah, that's the point. I don't want to put a big paywall behind brushes and stuff because everyone should have access to these tools. It just makes it more fun. It just makes creating the artwork more enjoyable. Like, you don't need a ton of brushes, but it's fun to get some every now and then. So it's like once a month, if you want to spend $4 and get 20 brushes, you know, that's what I'm there for. You know, and that's really it. I don't need it to be some. There's no like gatekeeping. There's no like, oh, my brushes are $75 because they're like. No, I'm gonna make another pack next year. You know what I mean? Like, I'm constantly moving and changing and evolving, and I want people to be able to come on that journey with me because I think that's part of it. You know, Paintstorm's good. I mean, Paintstorm I still think is like a secret weapon. I think Paintstorm, it can hang with anything. I think it's more fun to use than Corel Painter. I think it's just as responsive as like Art Rage. I think it's easier to get into than Rebel. And I'm like a featured Rebel artist. Like, I helped make that thing. And Paintstorm just got a lot. And the thing is, it's only like $19, $20 brand new. And you own it forever. It's true they have not updated it in like 4 years, but they don't need to. It just it works. And we're literally about to go into Paintstorm right now because I'm seeing some stuff I want to change, and I want to change it in Paintstorm. Screen tone effects. Ooh, that's a good idea. That photo texture. Yeah. So that really does, like, it really helps the plants and stuff. It's funny, I had a random thought about let me come over here, color, bring that up over again. Okay. What do I want to do with this? These colors are not working for me. I keep going back and forth. I do think it's because it's not like fully painted yet. Perfect. No, here's another fun cheat sheet thing. Let's change the vibe. Paintstorm's now $50. What? Dude, at 20, it was I mean, 50's still a fair price because the program's really good. But like, the higher they go with it, the less that makes sense. The last update, okay, so about a year ago. Just do an old school like sepia tone thing. That'd be fun. I think this goes to more like, what's the actual vibe I want on this? That one looks pretty good. So if I color copy out here, and then there we go. That's what it is. I just needed it less, I needed it less candy. It looked like fruit salad the way it was. Like this, there's just too much saturation everywhere. But this, we can work with. Because so yeah, the actual like light source should be up here, because if we look at where the grass and the leaves and stuff like that, that's where the light is hitting, and also on the rocks, light is hitting there. But that doesn't mean we can't keep that cool look right here. It's either that, or we can readjust the rest of this to fit right there. So what we can do, let's see, what is this? This is at 51%. Great. The bluish yellow, yeah. So this one's really nice. Like, I love doing the gradient map stuff because it just very easily lets me see if stuff works or not. So with this, we add that in, it tempers it a little bit. But what we can do, I like how it looks at 51% opacity. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to crank this back up. I'm going to make a mask. I'm going to fill the mask with 51% lightness. This is a little more, not advanced, but it uses a lot of steps. So what I just did is I found out what opacity I wanted, made a mask, and because masks are kind of like what we talked about with an alpha channel, that all the way black is hidden and all the way white is shown, I saw what the opacity was, matched that value, so 51% on the value scale, so half, or like one above half, and filled that in to the mask, which gave us the same look as just lowering the opacity of this color that we have over top. So the reason why I did that is now you can come in with a soft round and you can play with how much color you want to show. So let's say I want the saturation around the face, which I do. So I'm going to come around this black right here. No, I'm going to come around the white because I want it to show. We're going to add those pops of saturation back in where we want those nice bright colors to show. So then also like right here. It's just another way to be able to control things without it getting like super overboard with a ton of layers and all this stuff. And that's getting hit by light, so it's going to be pretty saturated. Actually, same thing here too. So anywhere that's kind of in the lighter midtones should stay fairly saturated. And see, that automatically, in my opinion, that looks better. Because now... might be a little much right there. But, yeah, actually, that is a little much. Let me bring that back down a little. That lets us control that vibrancy. And then let me come up over here. Let's see. And what's cool is the further away from our focal point, we can actually introduce some of this color gradient, the blue and yellow gradient, back into the painting. And it kind of gives us almost a vignette look for each layer over the value sketch. Yes, it works really, really well, especially if you have like groups set up, and how we've talked about like the clown, what's that, the clown mapping, where it's like this thing's red, and so select everything red, and then, you know, who was the... I know Evan Amundsen does it. There's someone else that does it, but like for figures, they basically do a gradient map for every different material. So like everything that's a leather belt is in one group. So that way they select the group, they can change the gradient on that group. Oh, it's Igor. Igor Sid does it. He does it for his Diablo art, and he does it for his Warhammer art. So he'll grab, but he can also do materials that way too. So he'll bring in textures and just overlay it over the shapes that he has cropped out, which is pretty remarkable. So we have that. Do I want that bright blue or not? Let me bring in kind of the yellow for those clouds here. And then what's fun? Oh, Grady, yes. F6 guitars. Yeah, totally. Whenever you realize each of them have a different feel and a different vibe, and the weight is different, and yeah, it makes sense. It's like different tools. It's funny, I actually mentioned this in tomorrow's YouTube video. Think of each program as a different tool in your toolbox, and it makes way more sense. Because like, Rebel is going to do something different than Clip Studio. So depending on what your needs are, one of those would be probably a better bet than the other. I think where you start running into trouble is where you start stretching one program a little too thin, and then get frustrated because you think it's your skill set that's lacking. That you're like, oh man, why can't I make my paintings look really nice and traditional, and you know, with the nice brush strokes and all this stuff, but you're using something that literally is not made for that. It's like, you can't judge a fish by how well it climbs a tree. You can't do it. People think, oh, I should be good enough that I can do that type of painting with a hard round brush. Sure, but you can also get better results in 1/1000th the time if you had a different program that did that thing. Like, you know, it sounds really obvious and kind of like condescending, and I don't mean it to be, but it's like, find the right tool for the job. Just, if you know, if you got a hammer, everything's a nail. So just it helps you kind of shake out of the box. But I will say the nice thing is, that's why I always recommend Krita as a backup. Crit is a perfect second painting program. I think it's a great first painting program too. It's just whenever you start off with something free that's that good, then you have to like spend money later on something else. It doesn't taste as good as like, oh, I already bought Corel Painter. I already bought Art Rage. I already bought Rebel. Oh, but I can get this other thing for free. That's cool. Like it's a different swap. See how we got them retro colors now. And the nice thing about this, once we pull in these colors and make kind of gray them out a little bit, you kind of temper them. Whenever we really want to grab attention, we come in here, let's do like a real bright red, and then you bring it in here and go like boom. You know, that was weird that it swapped hues on me. It's really gonna, you know, it's really gonna sing. So when in doubt, gray it out. Gray is a perfect color because it's always what you need. If something's warm and you put it towards gray, it gets cooler. If it's cool and you put it towards gray, it gets warmer. And then it also desaturates, so now all the colors work together better because they're all kind of gray. Gray becomes your mother color. So every color is touched by a little bit of gray. So gray is our theme, which means it's quote unquote washed out. But then whenever we come back in and hit those crazy saturations, it'll like, pow, it'll like pop them. You're meant for a traditional look. Also got an old copy of Clip Studio. So honestly, I think PaintStorm's genius for it. For a traditional look. Krita has those new Memi Leo brushes. We used them on the last stream. They're a lot of fun. They're very thick paint and stuff. But like really, my kind of trinity, as it were, for realistic paint is going to be PaintStorm Studio, Rebel, and Art Rage. Those three, you're cooking with gas, man. Corel Painter, of course, is a standard, and some people just swear by it, say you don't need anything else, it's the best in the world, all that stuff. I've never had it work for me. Not to that level, not to the PaintStorm and Rebel and other level. But yeah, like those three, any of those three are money. But yeah, I did that Frank Frazetta painting. Let me open it up. The one I finished earlier today. Where is my... Oh, there it is. Okay. Majority of this one I did in PaintStorm. I did some of the bigger, thicker brushes in Rebel. Or in Art Rage, rather. But like... Yeah, this was PaintStorm, man. PaintStorm's a beast. It's just, it's ridiculous. Yeah, okay. So we have that. I'm trying to see it a little more. This needs to not be basically uncolored. But we can fix that. Because see, what's great is around these highlights, that's where... Is this Izzy? Yeah. Where Izzy did a lot of his big saturations and big color hits. And then as we get further away, see how it's kind of grayed out, browned out, kind of the desaturated greens here, kind of the muddy shadows here. Smart. Super smart. Same thing here. All your saturations are happening right around that light bloom. Then you get some right here just to kind of catch attention. Same thing on the feathers on the dinos, but then as it gets further away, it gets more grayed out and like desaturated. unless it breaks the rule by getting hit with light. Yeah, same thing here. All the saturation, bam, right there. And then it kind of tapers out. So I wonder, that being said, let me do that. Get soft round brush. Minimize those. Pure white here. There's our saturation. Boom! And then we can kind of fade it out like that. Okay, that's cool. Let's save this. Save. Save as. I'm going to save this as a PNG file, so it's all one layer. High fidelity, low file size. Get rid of that. Let me open up PaintStorm Studio. File, open. Cool. There we go. I don't need the mixer. I'm going to duplicate this layer. Cool. Live in Texas, absolutely. That'd be fun. I need to do more of those studies, but I will say on tomorrow's YouTube video, at the end, there is a reveal. And it's kind of a game changer for the channel. So stuff like that is already kind of a brewing. I'll put it that way. So let's figure out what we want to do here. I will say the nice thing about using the weird color vibrancy stuff in Photoshop for the brushes, if you look up here, how the colors are all kind of like warbled, I actually like that a lot. Craig Mullins does that a whole bunch. And, you know, he's pretty good at that whole painting thing. So what is my goal here? I still need to lighten this. I've already lightened this. I need to lighten some of these shadows. But yeah, let's just grab a brush and just start painting around a little bit. Because we still got about 20 minutes left on stream. So yeah, I sadly won't be able to finish this one tonight, but that's fine because I finished the Frank Frazetta one today, so. I'm gonna do some of these. The cool thing about this, I can just put in some random noise here. And it's automatically adding some visual interest. Some like painterly stuff. Literally, what I do for Varia and what I would do for Magic, you know, I'm hoping I do get hired by them at some point in my career. I think it would be a blast and a lot of fun. But basically, I could like tightly render out something, and then for the final part, come in with like a Rebel or an Art Rage, and just color pick and make paint strokes like this. That way everything kind of starts blending in, and it makes it look like the whole thing was completely painted by hand, which I mean, I guess it was, but you know what I mean? Like, that I didn't have to go through the value steps and all that stuff. It's just that magically the right colors are in the right spot. It's like what we talked about earlier, to sell that idea that like this place exists and get you excited and you want to play the game or whatever. Like, think good brushwork can do that. If we come in through here. So this is, I call this one just West Oil Main. This is a modified, was it oil with canvas texture, maybe? So all the ones up here, all of these are default brush categories, except for these bottom two. These bottom two are my brush categories. This one I made in 2022. This one I made in 2023. You can see I found the brushes that I really liked. So 2022 is quite a few more brushes, but 2023 is just the bangers. Like, because like 2022, I can do like a real texture brush. And what that does is that actually does give some more impasto look. Kind of the rugged, wet, nasty, like scraped look. See? And it's cool, but the only thing is it gets a little unwieldy unless I do the whole painting with that one brush. So it does great brush strokes, like beautiful brush strokes. But they can kind of get away from you if you're not careful. So like that type of deal. And then it's like the image of impasto, but not real impasto. And then you can get like a blender bristle brush and like come in and kind of smooth out edges to give it that sort of painted look. And then you can do these fun textures right here. Like the spray textures and things like that for dirt and grime and all that. You can even do that for like textures on the DINO, you know. Just give the impression of a whole lot of detail, even though there's not really all that much. It's just brushwork, you know, brush strokes. So these were the older brushes, but then the newer ones are just juggernauts as far as painting. Just they feel right and they give me kind of exactly the look I want and all that stuff. And they're just like really responsive, which I appreciate. They're perfect for clouds. Because I can come in and just depending on how hard I press, I get different transfers of colors. So you can come in and really make some cool, like, fluffy cloud shapes. Then if we come in West Oil Canvas, make it a little bigger. Kind of get some of those edges out of there. And I think what's adding to that kind of storm look is these dark patches of... What's up, mister? No, you're responsive. I know you are, but what am I? So... yeah. It's funny, I always have one hand way over here on the keyboard, just so I can color pick. That's whenever I get into a good groove, is whenever I just grab, 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 grab. You know, I'll just go back and forth. Paintstorm, but haven't played too much in the sandpit. I think these are. They are part of maybe the Platinum pack. There's one pack that says Paintstorm Studio brushes on like the label, on the because it comes with the normal annual like Photoshop brushes, but as a bonus for that year, I put in the Paint Storm because I was using the program more, and I was like, I'm not going to charge people money for, 10 Paint Storm brushes. Like, no, I should just get it as a nice bonus for getting the other brush pack. But see, even like with hard edges, if you come over the hard edges with these type of brushes, what ends up happening is it does this great like color melting thing. The thing that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, like, oh God, that's so freaking good. Like, you can feel the brush stroke. Like, when you look at it as a viewer, you can be like, whoa, that's hand painted. Like, there's no getting around it. Like, that is 100% hand painted. You know what I mean? Like, the nice like canvas look. But this is actually how I got that Frazetta look to really ring true. Is you get these nice little bits of brushwork on top of brushwork on top of color on top of brushwork on, and it all sort of mingles in like it's oil. Let me bring that up and maybe that one out. And that out. All right. I am not super sure what the next things should be. So we're gonna lighten this. And see, that's gonna throw a lot of the values that we set up out of whack, but that's actually fine. Because this will make me make another decision. Do you know what I mean? Like, this will be enough of a gut punch to the whole piece to start figuring stuff out, which is what needs to happen. Are you using a mouse? No. I am using a Huion Canvas touch monitor. So here, I'll do a little inception for you. So we are rocking it out like so. Doing like that. But I did start with mouse and then moved on to a generic like touch tablet, and then moved on to Huion and had a old Wacom tablet, a Bamboo from like 2003 that I used to use. Okay, this needs to be darker because we're in the foreground. This needs to be lighter. And I know I'm getting rid of all of the texture, but I actually think the texture was throwing me off a little bit. So you know what they say, sometimes you gotta kill your darlings. But if it makes for a better overall image, then it's worth it. You know. do something like that. Kind of. Do that. And what's nice about doing it this way, since I duplicated my layer, if I don't like any of it, I can just revert all the way back. So that's what's so great about digital, is like, here we're just kind of playing around. We're just kind of seeing what works, what doesn't. I do think these values read a little better. In fact, let me get rid of the blue sky on this side. And let's just have it be a massive cloud in the background. You know? Integrates a little better that way. Actually, let me cut that down to size a little bit. That way it's not that bad of a tangent. Should that be in front? Like that? Violet, hello, hello. Welcome. We are having a prize fight with our dinosaurs right now. Just to get some paint on the canvas and figure it out. Come back here, like that. Okay. And give our duder a little. No arms right there. That's fine. Okay. We got those retro colors in there, a little desaturated. Then this is where we can actually like hitting these, and then we'll figure out what we want to do with the yeah, God, those are crazy. Oh my gosh. Figure out what we want to do with the values here in a minute. God, those are like candy apple. Oh yeah, for sure. The lighter color, because remember, anything dark is going to appear you know, that way. So yeah, this is all the one color. Literally, it's one color, because that way what we can even do is do this, pick that, bring up that value even a little bit more, and then that's where we can bring this like so. And that pushes that back even more, you know. And then maybe with this one, we could darken it a little bit in certain places. But this gives us more of a range to play with. You know what I mean? So if we do something like that. And it's funny, the more I've looked at more and more like magic art, a lot of times this is how they will paint details. And then we can even go even higher value, a little higher saturation. And then do just like paint strokes. And that will give us a pretty good look too. So this is Paint Storm Studio, one that I'm very fond of. And it's funny because at card size, this still reads okay. Like, you know what I mean? You still get the detail and stuff. Like, of course it needs to be tighter than this, but if we pulled up like, yeah, well, literally it was, brush strokes like that for the sky. For like clouds. It really is just that. That's, yeah. Then over here, just single brush strokes. It's cool. So we can maybe get away with that. Also, oh, someone who does it really well. Let me look it up. Greg Rutkowski, he does everything really well. But I'll show you what I mean by inferred detail. I'm going to look up this, and then I'll copy and paste it over to MTG Artists. There's one that he did that I know he used the technique that I'm thinking of. Oh, here's a pretty good one because it's a literal. Why didn't I have this one? Why did I not have this one? It's a freaking dino doing the thing on a rock. I'm an idiot. Oh, here I am, like, oh, I wonder how we can. No one's ever solved the problem of a dinosaur doing a thing on a rock for a Magic the Gathering card before. There's this guy. He's pretty good at that painting as well, you know. But anyway, perfect example. Check out this tree. Look at that. That is a that is a Greg Rutkowski tree right there. Look at that. But you zoom out and it works. It's Impressionism 101. Same thing. You have his stamp brushes. I think he did a little texture photo bash here. And then brought his brushes over top of it. Smart. Smart, smart, smart. That is a very smart man. Got them broccoli trees in there. Yep. That's why he makes the big bucks, man. Oh, he uses the fog. I thought I should use the fog. Because, like, look at all the stuff happening in this one. Like, you know what? Just to really make it a magic card. And you're right, it is late. And I'm going to lose my mind. So what we could do is just really send this one. Look at them birds. Let's do some. They probably don't go right there, though. They should probably, kind of like what his are. His are like... Or we could do the checkerboard look. How would we do that, though? And then, well, yeah, and then the scale would be off. Because I was like, we could do little birds like down here. But now, these dinosaurs look enormous, which doesn't make any... I mean, it kind of makes sense because dinosaurs were big, but like not... Velociraptors were not the size of 5 million birds. You know what I mean? Like, it's not how that works. But, let me find the actual Greg Rukowski card I was thinking of. Did he not... Does this website not have it? Oh, maybe... Okay, it is this one. I was thinking I have a few Greg Rukowski tutorials. So I'm thinking of his tutorial image. But, really... He, this one, which is not a dino at all. But this shows you the idea of detail with no detail. A meteor, yeah. They're like, hey, boss, look over there. So, if you see him doing his brushwork like this, you see how he painted just a few of the bricks. Gave you some, okay, this is made out of some sort of concrete stone brick, you know. And he has that same motif here and here. So then he can get away with this back there. Because since they're kind of square and they kind of have a line differentiating them, your brain thinks that is some sort of stone brick, you know, some far off terrain. That's true, because yeah, that's what he's gotten. God, how many? 1, 2, 3. I'll count that as 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers of depth. And then he uses the old concept art smoke, which is a great trick. It's such a good trick. It's like a party trick. Between every single plane, or yeah, I guess it would be a plane for your frontmost mid-ground and all that stuff. You just put some smoke. And that's it. And it gives you a sense of like pushing things away from each other. Really, because now you're doing black silhouette on white. And then up here, once again, I mean, it's not black, but the theory is darker silhouette on light. Then over here, darker silhouette on light. Then over here, darker silhouette on light. So it's like the repeating pattern. It gives you depth. Yeah, so his shape language is great. Notice there's, let's see. I'm going to say there's only 2 actual, like, sharp edges on this. Everything else is either going to be... Yeah, I'm just going to say there's 2 sharp edges. And then everything else can be an oval. Really. But either a box or an oval. So, like... If you wanted to break down this picture, it would be something like... let me fill this with a 50% gray. I'm just gonna grab a paintbrush. So this is gonna be real rough and ready, but he only has 2 actual sharp shapes. So here's what he did. He goes, well, first let's put our background. The software doesn't know what to do because I'm painting too big now. It's like on a different layer. So he has that, right? Then he has some boxes. Here's one of the only points. Triangle on a box. This box kind of comes around here, but box, right? So it goes a little bit darker. So yeah, about where we're at right now. So here's the other point. And then let's actually grab this. And come in here, right? And like this is just very rudimentary deals, right? So he has kind of his other point right there because that has smoke and ooh, it's blending the the different areas. So then it goes a little darker. Yeah, we can do that. Kind of a circle because all these, I call them the broccoli trees, but bunch of little crescents, bunch of little half circles, right? Kind of giving way to these sharper shapes, that one sharp shape. So all of these are kind of building to that. Then you get even darker. Another circle, because that's what that tree is. And yeah, you can have some maybe squares coming off where the branches are. But then you get even darker. You have something like this, and then this can kind of come up. And then you might think that this is a point, that the tree is kind of a point, but really the more important part are the leaves. And the leaves are a circle. So you can do that. But then what you do is, because he's a genius, you don't necessarily use this value for the DINO. You use the one a step darker. Because now, our duder, see? Here's another DINO. Look at him. Wow, what a beefy boy he is. Now he stands out. You know what I mean? Because he breaks the rule of, well, he's on this plane, so he has to be this value. Like, no. Your focal point can break the rule. That's fine. Because you want it to get attention, and a great way to do that is to break rules. So that's darker. And then you can put all the details and all this stuff. And then, oh, well, I'm actually gonna make this depth seem a little better. So I'm gonna take some of this value and make this shadow value the highlight value on this one. You see? And then the same thing here. I'm going to take the shadow value on that one and make it the highlight value here. Same thing. I'm going to take the shadow value of his and make it the highlights here. And then I'm going to make the shadow value of this one and make it the highlights here. So you're not breaking any rules. It follows the logistics. And then for our Dino boy, you can give him the lightest lights, the darkest darks, whatever you want. Because really, that's where people are going to look. And then he does integrate it a little bit better because, you know, I can tell he did that rule and he made all the details and stuff like that. And then came in at the end and, you know, kind of did this to kind of push it and make it work. And then, of course, from here, you just make the shapes a little better. You put a little bit of that texture in there. And you're good. I mean, so that's how at the end of the day, this is how I would do a master study of that painting. It looks ridiculous, but that still works. That still works, and it reads relatively the same. You know, it's not as far off as you know, other pros would try to make it seem, you know, for your story. Yeah, here you go. I'm going to show this to an art director, and he's like, "What the hell is that? Get that out of my get out of my office." But yeah, that's an easy way to break down that stuff. But yeah, that kind of inferred detail is what we can do on some of these rocks, you know, kind of like how he's inferring detail right here, and kind of do that same thing here. It doesn't have to be like this is actually tree textures. This might actually be smoke textures now that I look at it, like volcano smoke or something. But yeah, this is photo bash under a filter. This is stamp silhouette brush stuff. Looks really good. Yeah, look at that nice smear on the tail. Oh, mwah. That Greg Rutkowski guy knows what he's doing. See the little tiny shapes? But see, lights, darks, some of the lightest lights. Not the darkest darks, but pretty dark considering this is in the background. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he definitely, he plays by the rules, but he does stretch them a little bit. So yeah. So now we just know, ironically, now we're just on the painting part of it. We did all this setup to now be able to paint. All right, night, Greg. Thanks, man. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, I'm actually probably gonna call it because it's about 1:30 in the morning, and we got family plans tomorrow, so I'm gonna call it. So I did want to leave this since you guys are here. I did want to leave this up to you. On Wednesday, do you want another art stream where we actually, you know, finish this or try to? Or would you like it to be kind of a fun gaming, just kind of hang out, relax? You can laugh at me, be bad at video games. Because I'm meaning to play Street Fighter. I've been meaning to play that. Stormgate, the new RTS is out. I'm early adopter on that, so I can play ranked. Ooh, both. Haha. You got me. Cause yeah, I'd like to do big sweaty try hard ranked ladder on Stormgate, which I've not done yet. I don't know any build orders. It would be laughably bad. I don't think I'll win a single game. Because the only people that bought the game so far are like Korean StarCraft 2 professionals. And those are the only people playing, so I would get slaughtered online. But that might be part of the fun. And then, ooh, paint Street Fighter. See, that'd be sick. doing fan art, that's been on the agenda for a while. Um, that'd be a lot of fun because then I could here, let me go to the actual chat screen. There we go. Painting Street Fighter would be fun because I don't do a lot of fan art. I don't. I don't know why, but I just don't. I just don't do a lot of it. I should. I think it'd be fun. And we'll go from like 10 viewers to like 600 viewers if I'm doing fan art. But yeah, I don't know why I don't do it more. Maybe I'm just not confident enough in the styles. Like we can break down magic art and stuff because that's just my wheelhouse. It's kind of what I do. But like doing more manga and anime and stuff like that, like more of the Japanese illustration style, it'd be a lot of fun. Play Street Fighter and find a character to make fan art of later. It's a good idea. I think out of all of the characters, I think one of the ones that would be the most fun would be Kimberly. I think she's new in Street Fighter 6. She's great. She's like I think she's gonna be my new main. Because I'm always a Ryu guy. I play Ryu forever. But Kimberly's great because she reminds me of some of the ninjas from like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and she reminds me of Guy from Final Fight. He's really good. I need to do there will be one time, and maybe it can be like a month-long thing. Maybe I should do like a actual Frank Frazetta master study and like record the whole thing. We just do it live and then have it chronicled, like archived, and see how far we can push it. And then maybe I can do that for having fun with master studies, and it can be like a 35-hour long video. You know? So yeah, Lone Wolf and Cub is great. What's the other one? Blade of the Immortal is really good. I really like the artwork of like Biomega. That one's lesser known, but Biomega looked amazing. That looks so rad. And that's the other thing. I need to start. I already have the panels kind of in my mind. I need to start making the graphic novel, the 5 or 6 page graphic novel for the world building book I'm making. I genuinely need to like focus and study comics and manga and see how are they lettering and all, you know, all that stuff. I know Rick, I think Burlow. Sorry, Rick. I know he's watching too, so what's up, buddy? He actually works in the comic industry, and he sent me a message, and he's like, hey, if you need somebody that's like actually in that field to look this over before we publish, like, go for it. So that's exciting to me, to be able to have somebody like that I can be like, hey, does this suck? I don't want to put out something that sucks. Tekken, yes sir. So I did get let me show this real quick. I got this bad boy. Nice leverless that I'm wearing. So far, the leverless is making the hard things easy and the easy things hard. Like walking back and forth is more difficult now, but like doing combos in Street Fighter or Tekken or like Grand Blue or Guilty Gear, now doing combos is a cinch. It's like, oh, now I have to jump, so I have to use my thumb to jump instead of, because everything's more deliberate. Like, you have to do this stuff. So leverless is pretty sick. I'm liking it. My brain still isn't connected correctly to use it. But I love Tekken. I've been a Tekken guy since Tekken 1, really. And then me and my dad played Tekken 2 in the arcades, got super obsessed with Tekken 3. Didn't play really any of Tekken 4. Loved Tekken 5. Didn't really play any of Tekken 6. Really like Tekken 7, and I'm loving Tekken 8. So I'm right there with you. I just want to get good at like games that might be hard to get good at, whether it's real-time strategy or fighting games or, you know, for whatever reason. You know, I'm almost 40, but I'm like, now's the time. Now's the time I'm going to be a StarCraft player, you know, in the machine. American Comics, I can't read it and just get featured. Right. Need an idea how it's supposed to sound. Totally. No, I get it. I think my stuff, if I were to completely just like steal somebody's style, which I'm not going to, but if I would, it would be Ashley Wood. The way he did the Metal Gear Solid comics is perfect. Because he would do standard lettering on some stuff, but then if like a blade cut through something, he would actually make the painting of the blade cutting through the boxes in the graphic novel itself. It's super rad. Like, I was like, oh dude, this is not like so good. Let me see if I can find a few panels of that. So I'll see if yeah, there's oh, these are like the actual marker stuff. Ooh. I'll pull this up real quick. Boom. Let me minimize that. Let me bring this over. Let me see if that's actually gonna. Yeah, this is fine. So yeah, like stuff like this, where it's actual. He does the standard lettering and things like that, and like some of the action scenes. Because I have the actual graphic novel, but see, it has super dynamic. Yeah, so like your sound effects and stuff, but how they can kind of break through panels and things. It's just, yeah, Yoji's a genius, dude. That's why I got that Yoji Shinkawa poster up behind me. But unbelievable. Yeah, if you haven't seen this before, all of the graphic novel, the Metal Gear graphic novel collection is so freaking good. And it's part of the Metal Gear Legacy collection, the stuff you can get now for like Xbox and PS5 and stuff, and Switch. And it comes with the video versions of this book, where they like animated the panels and stuff, but it's still done by Ashley Wood, so it's super rad. But yes, this would be the type of stuff I would like to do. And the other person who I would ape, I need to pull it up, but I need to be away from it because the book does have nudity and I don't want us to get banned. But Adrian Smith is one of my art idols from Games Workshop. Smith Chronicles of Hate. He has a whole series called the Chronicles of Hate, and it's all black and white oil work, like oil paintings. Unbelievable. I need to very closely look at these paintings to make sure there is no nudity or graphic violence. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Okay, cool. So something like this would be rad, but I'm not that good. And 5 pages would still take me like 3 months. You know what I mean? But Adrian Smith is a demon. Dude's so ridiculous. That's all ink, by the way. I said oils. Some of it's in oils, but a lot of this is actually just in ink, which is even more ridiculous, by the way. guy's freaking good. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I gotta bust out the leverless. Got to get my butt handed to me in ranked Street Fighter. Also in ranked Tekken. Tekken, I feel like, at least to me, it's actually a little easier. The game's more complicated, but I feel like you have more ways out. Like you can pick up what the opponent's doing faster and like respond to it. But with Street Fighter, you're just playing the characters. Like Ryu versus Dulcim, Dulcim has the advantage. Just he does because of the reach. Or like Kimberly versus Zangief, Kimberly has the advantage because she can dart in and out before Zangief can throw. Like, that's very kind of cut and dry. But with Tekken, it's all very fluid and nuanced, and I feel like I can do better that way. Ooh. The slain work. Heck yeah. There's so much stuff I need to buy and look at and stuff, but yeah, so I need to get started on my deal. I think it's going to be in black and white because I think the whole book's going to be in black and white. I may have like 2 color paintings in there as really like for story reasons, like really vibrant, like wow, look at that beautiful painting. And then the rest of it's going to go back down to the grayscale stuff. But yeah, that's my time for today. We've still been live for quite a few hours, I think. But which is cool. I always love hanging out with you guys and just talking shop. I like it a lot. I like answering the questions and appreciate all of you for sending them in as well and hanging out tonight and just having a fun old time of it. But I promise one day we will finish a painting on stream. I think it's more about just hanging out and like talking shop more so than more so than actually getting stuff done, because I get stuff done off stream. Like I get the NDA stuff done and turned in and all that when we're not live. So live's just having fun hanging out. But that's my time for tonight. Yeah, new YouTube video drops tomorrow. Actually, let me bring this one thing. I know I said I'm leaving, but let me bring this one thing up and show you what that new thumbnail looks like. Kind of a spoiler alert for the YouTube video. Where we at? Where we at? There it is. Cool. Okay. So yeah, this one should get a rise out of people. Drop Adobe forever. So that is what the new thumbnail is going to be. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to cause a little bit of a commotion in the comments, I think. But who is calling me at 2 in the morning? Nobody good, that's for sure. But yeah, so that's going to cause the deal for sure. Yeah, it's a 1-800 number, so definitely nobody good. But yeah, I'm excited for you guys to see it. It's kind of a general tips video, but it could lead the way to other videos in the future. But that is my time for tonight. You all have been incredible as normal, as usual. It's so much fun to hang out with you all. And we will see you. It's mass hysteria. We will see you on Wednesday night, where we might play some video games. I don't know. I put out a poll, and I think 2 people voted, and one person said you should paint, and the other person said you should play games. So we're literally dead even again. I don't know. So we'll see what we're doing, because I could also like install Guild Wars 2. We could do some MMO fantasy game stuff. We can do, I mean, sky's the limit. I got like 2,000 Steam games. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We don't have to paint all the time. We can. I like doing that. But we can also hang out and play games and do that stuff too. Stream. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Spec. Thank you for the questions as well. It's always fun to be able to dig in and kind of showcase stuff and show things in real time. I think that is the benefit of the stream, is we can literally converse and like, hey, I can show you this, and here's think about this, and blah blah blah. Like, I think that's the coolest part of it. So yeah, they'll comment before they even watch. All the bots that I just mute from the channel, so that way they can just still reply, but no one can see it, which is always fun. That might be the best thing YouTube's ever done, by the way, is if you hide somebody from a channel, they can still comment on your videos, and they can see their comment on the comments list, but no one else can. I don't see them. I don't get them. Nobody else can read them. It's hilarious. I think it's the best thing YouTube's ever done. Because people can argue with themselves and like, why aren't you messaging me? Why aren't you mad at what I typed? But no one can read it. I think it's the best. But anyway, that's my time. You guys take care. I'll see you Wednesday night. We'll figure out something. But until then, peace.